Welcome to BCC Kids Online. Hey kids! Today we will be learning all about Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, 3 guys who were taken to live in Babylon and forced to live out their lives as slaves. Despite living in this scary situation, they followed God. Now, King Nebuchadnezzar didn't like this, and he tried to get them to bow down to his statue and worship him. Now, when the 3 guys refused, Nebuchadnezzar ordered them to be burned in a fiery furnace. But when they went into this furnace, get this, they didn't burn. God was with them the whole entire time. How amazing is that? But before we learn more about this, let's jump into worship.
God's love never fails and it lasts forever. Our God is great, our God is great. My God is with me, yes, He's with me wherever. Our God is great, our God is great. He's an awesome God, bigger than my wildest dreams. Monumental love, eternal love for you and me. 'Cause He's an awesome God. Our God's an awesome God. God is in charge and He watches over me. Our God is great. Our God is great. My God is strong and He'll never let go of me. Our God is great. Our God is great. He's an awesome God, bigger than my wildest dreams. Monumental love, eternal love for you and me. 'Cause He's an awesome God. Our God's an awesome God. Yeah. Our God is great.
Our God is awesome.
Celebrate.
Celebrate.
Our God is great.
Our God is awesome.
Celebrate.
Celebrate.
He's an awesome God, bigger than my wildest dreams. Monumental love, eternal love for you and me. 'Cause He's an awesome God, bigger than my wildest dreams. Monumental love, eternal love for you and me. 'Cause He's an awesome God. Our God's an awesome God. Our God's an awesome God.
It's time for a Bible story. A long time ago in the land of Israel, there lived 3 young guys named Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego.
Whoa, hold on, wait a minute. What are those names? Did you say their names were Sad Rat, Mean Hat, and a Bendy Goat?
No, not even close. Their names were Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. And they were some pretty solid dudes. They loved God with all their heart, and things were going pretty well for them. Until one day, all of that changed.
Wait, let me guess what happened. They were taken from their homeland by an invading army.
Well, actually, yeah, that's exactly what happened. Do you know the story already?
Whoa, really? Crazy. That was just a random guess. What are the odds of that, huh?
Well, you're right. Israel was invaded by the wicked King Nebuchadnezzar.
Whoa, that stinks. And double whoa, because the names in this story are crazy.
I know, right? King Nebuchadnezzar invaded their country and took a bunch of people captive, and then brought them back to his home country called Babylon.
Hold up. Okay. I know the names in this story are a little wonky, but you gotta be kidding me. He was from a place called Babyland? That sounds awesome. An entire country full of adorable babies? Actually, that doesn't sound awesome. I bet it smelled like a giant diaper. Ugh.
No, not Babyland. It was called Babylon, and I'm sure it smelled just fine.
Gotcha. So what happened when they got to Babylon?
Well, they were trying to adjust to where they live now. I mean, one day they're chilling at home in Israel, and the next day they're in a totally different country. They didn't know anybody there, they don't speak the language, and on top of all that, they were forced to work as slaves.
Yikes, that is pretty rough, man. I bet they were like so super scared. I mean, they're in a completely different country, they don't know anybody, they're completely on their own. Man, I would be totally freaked out.
Actually, they didn't freak out. They knew God was with them, so they kept on like they had before. Every day they would pray and worship God.
Hey, that's great to hear. Sounds like things could turn around, huh?
Well, things did change, but not really in the way that you might expect. One day, King Nebuchadnezzar decided to have a huge statue of himself built. He wanted it to be 90 feet tall and made out of gold.
Seriously, a 90-foot golden statue of himself? Man, what a waste of a statue. I'd rather have a 90-foot gold statue of something awesome, like a really fat hamster. Oh, or like a unicorn playing guitar.
I agree. Those would be pretty sweet. But no, he wanted it to be of himself. And once the statue was built, he ordered people from all around to come and see it. He had musicians set up all around the statue and gave the order that when they started to play, everyone would bow down and worship him.
Okay, that's a little weird. So what does this have to do with our three amigos exactly?
Well, that's where things get interesting. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego were some of the people that were ordered to come and see the statue. But, as you can imagine, they weren't very interested in worshiping King Nebuchadnezzar. They only worshiped God.
So what happened?
Just like the king ordered, the band kicked in and everybody bowed down to the statue except for 3 people. You want to guess who?
Larry, Curly, and Moe.
Swing and a miss. It was actually Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. And as you can imagine, the king was not very happy with them disobeying his orders. But he liked Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, so he gave them a second chance to change their minds and worship him. The band kicked in again, everybody else bowed down, but
Let me guess, they didn't bow.
no sirree, Bob.
Yeesh, I bet he really did not like that.
No, he did not. King Nebuchadnezzar was furious that they had refused to worship him, but they held firm and told the king that they would only worship the one true God.
Oh boy, I bet they got punished pretty bad, huh? What'd they get, like 1,000,000 spankings?
No, much worse than that. The king's guards grabbed Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego and took them to a huge fiery furnace, a giant oven with flames blazing out all over it.
Good grief, that thing is no joke. It's gotta be like 1,000,000 degrees, or like a bazillion Celsius, or like 5 Kelvin.
Well, look at you, Mr. Science. And yes, it was very hot. The king decided to give them one more chance to bow down to him. And if they didn't, he was going to throw them into the fiery furnace.
Whoa, he was seriously gonna like kill him?
Straight up.
So what'd they do? I mean, did they just give in and bow down? I mean, listen, that would be totally understandable. I mean, look at that oven thing, man. They'd get roasted like marshmallows in there. That would be terrifying.
That's true. It was a pretty scary situation, but they trusted in God and they weren't afraid. They knew that God was more powerful than King Nebuchadnezzar, and if God was on their side, they didn't have to be afraid. So when the king said one last time to bow down, they refused.
Uh-oh, so did he throw him in the furnace?
Nope. Instead, the king ordered the furnace to be made 7 times hotter than it already was, and then throw them in.
What? How do you even do that? That's gotta be like as hot as the sun, or like an atomic bomb, or my new mixtape.
No. But it got so hot that when the guards opened the door, the heat was so strong that they were instantly killed.
Oh, look, the guards are dead. Now's your chance. Run for it, guys.
Well, there were other guards. Kind of an expendable resource back then.
Oh, that's kind of sad.
So another set of guards grabbed Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, dragged them over to the furnace, and threw them inside. King Nebuchadnezzar and everybody else watched as they closed the door and waited. But what happened next? Nobody ever expected. There in the furnace, in those blazing hot flames, stood 4 men.
Wait, what? They didn't die? Like an instant, terrible death of burning and dying?
Nope. The guards and King Nebuchadnezzar could not believe their eyes. There were 4 figures standing in the flames, totally fine.
Hold up, wait a second. There were 4 people? I thought you said they threw in 3 people. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. That's only 3.
True, but there was a 4th person in the furnace with them. It was Jesus.
What?
Yep, Jesus was with them in the fiery furnace and protected them from the flames. King Nebuchadnezzar told them to come out, and they walked out completely unharmed. Their clothes didn't even smell like smoke.
That is incredible. So that's why they weren't afraid of the king, huh? They trusted in God so much and knew that he would be with them when the times got tough.
Exactly. That day, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego showed King Nebuchadnezzar and everyone in Babylon that God was with them, and no matter what came their way, they didn't have to fear.
That is totally stinking awesome.
You bet. The end.
What an amazing story, BCC kids. And you know what? Before we unpack that story a little more, we have the kid vid and our animal facts. Let's go.
Hi, I'm Riley and I'm 11 years old. I play piano and organ. I've been doing piano for 6 years and organ for 4. I like them both for different reasons because the organ is so big, and I remember I played in 2nd grade and I first played it and I was like, wow, this makes a really big noise, but I'm so tiny. And the piano it's elegant and flowy. You can play multiple different types of music on the piano.
Some of you might play the piano or other instruments too, but Riley also does something surprising. She loves bringing toys to kids in the hospital. Riley raises money for the toys by making and selling hair scrunchies. Hair scrunchies are colorful cloth bands that girls wear to hold their hair back.
I learned to make scrunchies by watching YouTube videos. I got the idea because I have a friend that has an older sister that has cancer, and she was in Children's Hospital. Also, I thought of how hard it would be to be in the hospital right now with no visitors and no one to bring you anything.
Riley started out making scrunchies for those she knew, but quickly found out this was something she could use to help bring joy to others.
I was gonna make some for friends at school, and I realized that this is what I can do to help people that are in the hospital right now. After I have sold enough scrunchies to have a good amount of money, I go and buy toys that are on their wish list.
Riley's business grew from family and friends to selling her scrunchies in local shops in her hometown. She was super surprised at the response.
Since it started, it has grown a lot. I've raised over $1,500. I've made around 600 scrunchies. I've sent some scrunchies around the world. Now I sell them in a local coffee shop. I bring supplies to the coffee shop around once a week.
Since Riley's fundraising has gone so well, she gets to surprise kids at Children's Hospital with amazing gifts.
I think the kids at Children's Hospital, when they get the toys, feel happy and feel like someone knows about them and cares about them. The feedback I've gotten from the hospital is they really appreciate my donations and that they are thankful for them and that they are grateful that I am doing this.
Riley spends a few hours a week buying material, sewing the scrunchies, and delivering them to local businesses. Then she and her family buy the toys, package them, and deliver them to the hospital that's about an hour away. That adds up to a bunch of time and work, but Riley says it's worth it to bring some joy to kids who need it.
I have heard from my friends and family that they are really good quality, and they work better than the store-bought ones, just because the way that I do them and just the way they're made.
Sometimes things don't always go the way we expect them to, but when we trust in God, we can be sure He will always surprise us in the end. In the book of Psalms, chapter 66, verse 5, it says, "Come and see what our God has done, what awesome miracles He performs for people."
God is surprising means to me that when something has happened in your life, God will give you something that you are not expecting. God is surprising.
Do surprises make you jump? Everything makes me jump. That's the life for a desert hare like me. My name is Jet. You might also hear people call us jackrabbits. I can jump about 20 feet. That's like jumping over 3 tall crew leaders who are lying down head to toe. Surprisingly far for a little gal like me. And there are plenty of other surprising things about the way God made me. For example, living in the hot desert, I need a way to cool off. So God gave me these big ears. A lot of extra heat comes out of these big ears to keep me nice and cool. But that's not all. When it gets cold at night, surprise, my ears don't get cold. God gave me a special way to help the blood vessels in my ears widen and get more heat from my body. As for water, when the desert is so dry, surprise, I don't get most of my water from drinking from a pond or a stream. I get my water by eating plants that have water in them. And I eat, well, a bunch. Like, I'm pretty small, right? A lot smaller than a cow. But surprise, 15 hares can eat as much as a cow eats. And here's one more surprise. My feet are good for more than just running and jumping. I can dog paddle. Ah, a nice swim always feels good. There are so many surprising things about how God made me. And God does a lot of surprising things for you humans too. In the Bible, the book of Psalms, chapter 66, verse 5 tells us, "Come and see what our God has done. What awesome miracles He performs for people." Think about it. God has done some awesome things for you. God gave you people who love you. And He gave you new friends here at VBS. And just look around at all the amazing things He's made. From stunning sunsets to jumping jackrabbits, God's creation is full of amazing surprises. That's why I hop up high as I remember all the good ways that God surprises us.
In today's story, an earthly king, King Nebuchadnezzar, commanded that all people were to bow down to his image or burn in a furnace. The king had no God-given right to command that of any person. And on the other hand, God, who is the Holy One, who has the right to be worshipped. But God doesn't force any of us to bow down and worship Him. He loves us so much that He sent His Son Jesus to die for our sins. That makes us right with God. We are forgiven. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego showed their commitment to God by not bowing down to the king's golden statue. God showed His commitment to the 3 Hebrew men by standing with them in the fire. Let's be like Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. It's time to worship, BCC kids. You know what? We'll see you next week. Bye for now.
The splendor of a king. and I